We want to begin now with some breaking news. Rapper Lil Durk is...
I just left the courtroom for the bond hearing for my son.
Everybody thought Lil Durk was completely finished after the federal case exploded online. But now the entire internet is reacting after shocking courtroom updates suddenly changed everything. Just days ago, people were convinced the prosecutors had an unbeatable case against Durk.
Fact of the matter is, his trial team has won a number of points in this case. Some of the evidence that they wanted to use has actually been withdrawn so that the judge didn't have to exclude it. When they bought this case, they said the conspiracy started in August 2022. That's when Durk arranged to get these rentals, these flights. That's when he made arrangements for the bounty. Then they switched that and they said, actually, the conspiracy started back when November 2020. And here's the big one. When they charged Durk, they said in the indictment about the bounty that at the direction of defendant Durk Banks, defendant Wilson, that's OTF Didi, would pay the bounty or monetary reward to the That's gone.
Especially after all the headlines about alleged murder-for-hire accusations connected to revenge for King Von. But now, legal experts, rap insiders, and even some of the biggest voices in hip-hop are starting to believe the government may not have the slam dunk case everybody first thought. What really got social media going crazy was reports claiming federal prosecutors quietly backed away from some of the evidence they originally planned to use in court. That single move immediately sparked rumors that Durk's legal team might actually be gaining momentum behind the scenes. Then things got even crazier after news broke that his lawyers officially pushed for house arrest while waiting for trial, offering strict monitoring and massive security conditions just to get him out of jail. At the same time, people close to Durk are saying prison changed him mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But while fans are praying for good news, new allegations, alleged snitches, and old King Von connections are still threatening to destroy everything. And now people are asking one terrifying question. Is Lil Durk actually coming home? Or is this case about to become even bigger than anybody expected? The moment news started spreading that Lil Durk's legal team may have finally gained ground in the federal case, social media completely exploded. For months, people online have been treating the situation like it was already over for him. Every headline made it sound like the prosecutors had everything figured out. Every rap blog acted like the case was unbeatable. And honestly, most fans started preparing themselves for the worst. But then suddenly, behind closed courtroom doors, things started changing fast. According to reports coming from the hearing, prosecutors reportedly backed away from using some of the evidence they originally wanted to present at trial. That alone immediately caught everybody's attention because in a federal case, the government usually moves carefully. They normally don't step backwards unless there's a serious reason. The second that update hit the internet, hip-hop pages, lawyers, bloggers, and fans all started debating the same thing. Did the prosecutors lose confidence in part of the case against Durk? Even some well-known legal commentators started publicly saying the situation may not be as one-sided as people thought. That completely changed the energy around the case overnight. Instead of fans posting, "It's over," people suddenly started saying Durk might actually have a chance to fight this. And if that wasn't enough, another update made things even crazier. Durk's lawyers reportedly submitted a new proposal asking the judge to release him on house arrest while he waits for trial. But this wasn't some normal bond request. The offer was massive. Strict monitoring, full supervision, private security, even reports claiming they were willing to help cover costs to guarantee he stayed locked inside the home at all times. The internet instantly reacted because most people understood what that meant. His legal team wasn't acting scared anymore. They were acting confident. At the same time, videos and clips started resurfacing online showing people close to Durk speaking positively about the latest courtroom developments. Some of his supporters believed this was the first real sign of hope in months. Others warned people not to celebrate too early because federal cases can change fast. But either way, one thing became obvious. The mood around Lil Durk's situation had officially shifted. Meanwhile, another reason people started paying attention was because of how quiet the rap industry suddenly became. Fans noticed that outside of a few close allies and longtime friends, many major artists weren't publicly supporting Durk the way they support other rappers during legal problems. That silence became a huge conversation online. Some fans believed rappers were scared to associate themselves with the case because of how serious the allegations were. Others felt like the industry only supports artists when it's beneficial publicly. People even started comparing the reaction to how other major rappers were treated when they got arrested. Then clips from DJ Academics started going viral again because he openly talked about how lonely prison can become once the headlines cool off. He explained that a lot of artists who call somebody their brother while they're free suddenly disappear once real legal pressure arrives. That message hit fans hard because many people believe Durk spent years helping others, supporting careers, and standing beside different rappers during difficult moments. Now suddenly, according to fans online, it looked like he was learning who was truly loyal and who wasn't. At the center of everything was the emotional toll prison allegedly started taking on him. Reports claimed Durk was being held in extremely restrictive conditions for long periods of time. Stories spread online, saying he was isolated inside a tiny cell for almost the entire day. His supporters argued that the conditions were unfair and damaging mentally. Those details made the conversation even more emotional because fans weren't just discussing a rapper anymore. They were discussing somebody they felt was mentally breaking under pressure. People close to the situation even claimed his family became deeply worried after hearing about how he was allegedly being treated behind bars. Videos started circulating of relatives speaking emotionally about wanting fairness for him and hoping the court would finally approve some type of release before trial. Then another major shift happened. Messages allegedly connected to Durk began surfacing online where he talked about growth, reflection, and wanting to inspire younger people differently moving forward. That completely surprised many fans because for years Durk's image was built around survival, loyalty, pain, and street music. Hearing conversations about change made people wonder whether prison had fundamentally changed the way he sees life now. Some fans respected it immediately. Others questioned whether it was simply part of a legal strategy. But regardless of what people believed, the conversation around Durk no longer sounded the same as before. Instead of only talking about violence, beef, and revenge, people started discussing redemption and whether somebody can truly evolve after living through years of trauma and loss. Still, even while positive updates were spreading, serious danger remained hanging over the entire case. Because federal prosecutors were still building arguments connected to retaliation for King Von's death. And once King Von's name became attached to the courtroom discussion again, the internet instantly became chaotic. Prosecutors reportedly planned to use old interviews, lyrics, social media posts, and emotional reactions connected to Von's passing to help explain motive. That immediately sparked another giant debate online because rap fans have argued for years about whether lyrics should ever be used in criminal trials. Some people believe lyrics are simply entertainment and artistic expression. Others argued prosecutors only use them when they believe the words connect closely to real-life events. Either way, once reports surfaced that certain lyrics and interviews could appear during the trial, fans realized the case might become even more complicated than expected. Clips resurfaced showing Durk emotionally reacting to comments people made online after King Von passed away. Prosecutors allegedly believe those moments helped establish anger, grief, and possible motivation connected to later events. Supporters pushed back hard against that narrative, saying grief alone proves nothing. But this is where things became even more intense. Rumors started spreading that one alleged associate connected to the case may have spoken to investigators or provided information behind the scenes. Once the internet heard the word cooperating, social media turned into complete chaos. In hip-hop culture, allegations of snitching instantly change everything. Fans began accusing people. Old friendships got questioned. Interviews from years ago started resurfacing. Suddenly, everybody online became a detective, trying to figure out who could be helping prosecutors. That's when even more shocking claims started appearing online involving jail conversations, alleged confessions, and secret recordings. Some commentators claimed investigators may have gathered new information from inside prison itself. Others believed prosecutors could eventually expand the case further, depending on what cooperating witnesses allegedly say next. And that possibility terrified Durk supporters because just when it looked like momentum was finally shifting in his favor, new rumors threatened to pull everything back into darkness again. Now fans are divided into two completely different groups. One side believes Lil Durk has a real chance to beat parts of the case and eventually return home. They point to evidence disputes, bond discussions, and growing confidence from legal analysts as proof the government may not have everything locked down the way people originally assumed. But the other side believes the federal government is simply reorganizing the case before coming back even stronger later. They think prosecutors are preparing bigger witnesses, stronger testimony, and even more damaging evidence for trial. And somewhere in the middle of all this chaos sits Lil Durk himself, waiting inside a jail cell while the entire rap world watches his future unfold in real time. As the courtroom battle continued getting more intense, people online started realizing this case was no longer just about one incident. It had now turned into a full breakdown of Lil Durk's entire public image, his relationships, his lyrics, his interviews, and even the people around him. Every old clip was suddenly being reposted across social media, like investigators and fans were all trying to connect pieces of the same puzzle at the exact same time. One of the biggest reasons the internet became obsessed with the case again was because prosecutors reportedly added a secondary charge that many legal commentators described as a backup strategy. According to people following the case closely, this newer charge allegedly lowered the pressure on prosecutors needing to prove certain financial elements connected to the original accusations. That instantly made fans nervous because some believe the government was preparing multiple ways to still secure a conviction even if parts of the main case became weaker. The moment this information spread online, debates exploded everywhere. Some people argued this proved the prosecutors were uncertain about their original strategy. Others believed it was simply smart legal preparation because federal attorneys almost always build several different angles before going to trial. Either way, the conversation shifted from, will Durk beat the case, to how much evidence do prosecutors really have behind the scenes? At the same time, another emotional storyline started growing stronger online. Fans began focusing heavily on the mental pressure Durk was allegedly dealing with inside jail. Reports claiming he spent almost the entire day isolated inside a small cell started making supporters genuinely concerned about his psychological condition. Some fans said the isolation alone could permanently change a person. Others pointed out that many rappers come out of prison completely different mentally than when they entered. Then old interviews resurfaced showing Durk talking about loyalty, survival, and always protecting the people around him. Hearing those older conversations while watching him sit behind bars now created an emotional contrast that hit a lot of fans hard. People started saying it felt like the same loyalty he showed others throughout his career wasn't fully being returned now that he needed support himself. DJ Academics added fuel to that conversation after speaking about how quickly the music industry moves on when somebody gets locked up. He explained that when artists are free and successful, everybody wants to stand beside them publicly. But once federal charges arrive, people suddenly become quiet, distant, and careful about association. Many fans agreed immediately because outside of a few close allies like Young Thug, there weren't many major artists publicly screaming "Free Durk" every single day. That silence became its own story. Supporters began wondering whether rappers were afraid of damaging their own careers by publicly defending somebody fighting serious federal allegations. Others believe the industry simply has short memory and moves toward whoever is currently active and profitable. Either way, fans noticed the difference. Then another twist hit the internet. Allegations surfaced claiming one person connected to the investigation may have spoken to authorities about conversations tied to retaliation after King Von's death. The second people heard those rumors, social media became absolute chaos. Fans immediately started accusing different names online. Old photos, tweets, and livestream clips started resurfacing everywhere as people tried to figure out who investigators may be working with behind closed doors. And once allegations of cooperation enter a federal case, everything changes. In rap culture, especially, the idea of somebody secretly helping authorities creates instant paranoia. Fans no longer just look at the evidence. They start analyzing friendships, interviews, body language, and even social media activity. Suddenly, everybody becomes suspicious of everybody. Then leaked courtroom discussions and commentary from bloggers made the situation feel even more dramatic. Some reports claimed investigators had information connected to conversations inside jail cells. Others claimed confidential witnesses may have provided details prosecutors didn't originally have when the case first started. While nobody outside the courtroom truly knows everything investigators possess, the rumors alone were enough to completely take over hip-hop conversations online. Meanwhile, prosecutors reportedly continued preparing evidence tied to King Von's passing because they believed it helped explain motive and emotional state. That instantly reopened one of the biggest debates in modern rap culture. Should lyrics and interviews ever be used in court? Fans were split right down the middle. One side argued rap lyrics are creative expression and storytelling. They said artists exaggerate all the time in music, and prosecutors unfairly target rap culture more than other genres. The other side argued that when lyrics closely match real-life allegations, investigators are obviously going to examine them carefully. As that debate exploded online again, older songs, interviews, and livestream moments involving Durk started circulating everywhere. Prosecutors reportedly believed certain statements connected emotionally to anger surrounding King Von's death. Supporters pushed back immediately, saying grieving a close friend publicly does not equal criminal intent. Still, the emotional connection between Durk and Von remained at the center of nearly every conversation surrounding the case. For years, fans viewed their relationship as one of the strongest bonds in rap. They came from similar environments, shared losses together, built careers together, and publicly supported one another constantly. So once prosecutors allegedly started connecting that friendship to motive theories in court, the emotional weight of the case became even heavier. Then another layer of controversy exploded online after internet personalities began discussing conspiracy theories surrounding people close to the situation. Claims started spreading accusing certain individuals of betrayal, hidden motives, or secretly working with authorities. Some of the accusations became so extreme that even fans started arguing over what was real and what was pure internet speculation. That's one thing making this case so complicated publicly. Facts, rumors, opinions, leaked information, blogger commentary, and conspiracy theories are all blending together online at the same time. For casual viewers, it becomes almost impossible to separate confirmed courtroom developments from social media storytelling. But regardless of what's true or false, the impact on Durk's public image is undeniable. Because now people aren't only discussing music anymore. They're discussing loyalty, street politics, revenge culture, trauma, federal investigations, informants, mental health, and the pressure of fame all at once. The case became much bigger than one artist. At the same time, many supporters noticed something else changing about Durk himself. Messages allegedly connected to him started sounding more reflective and emotional than aggressive. Conversations about wanting to help younger generations avoid the same mistakes began spreading online. Fans started saying prison may have forced him to rethink the lifestyle that originally made him famous. Some believed he was preparing mentally for a completely different future if he ever regained freedom again. Others weren't convinced. Critics argued that once somebody faces serious federal pressure, public messaging naturally becomes softer because every word can affect future court proceedings. According to them, wasn't necessarily personal growth, it was survival. But no matter which side people believed, one reality stayed the same. The stakes could not possibly be higher. Because if prosecutors truly possess cooperating witnesses, digital evidence, financial trails, and communication records like some reports suggest, then the case could still become devastating at trial. But if Durk's legal team successfully weakens key evidence and challenges the government's timeline, then the entire situation could look very different months from now. And right in the middle of all this uncertainty came the biggest emotional twist yet. Durk's father publicly spoke after one of the hearings, saying he felt encouraged by how fairly the judge handled the courtroom proceedings. That moment instantly went viral because supporters desperately wanted any sign of hope. Hearing a family member sound optimistic made fans believe there was finally light at the end of the tunnel. But prosecutors reportedly remained aggressive behind the scenes, continuing to argue that witness testimony and digital evidence strongly supported their accusations. That meant the battle was far from over. Now, the internet finds itself trapped between two completely different futures. In one future, Lil Durk beats major parts of the case, secures release conditions, returns home, and completely reinvents himself after surviving the most dangerous moment of his life. In the other future, prosecutors introduce stronger witnesses, more damaging testimony, and additional evidence that changes everything people currently believe about the investigation. And the scariest part, for everybody watching, nobody truly knows which future is coming next. By the time the latest courtroom updates started spreading across social media, the entire rap industry was watching Lil Durk's case like a movie that nobody could pause. Every single day seemed to bring another rumor, another leaked detail, another theory, or another debate about what was really happening behind closed federal courtroom doors. Some people believed Durk was finally catching a break. Others believed the government was simply waiting for the perfect moment to hit harder than before. And honestly, that uncertainty is exactly what made this situation so terrifying. Because while fans online were celebrating reports about evidence disputes and possible house arrest discussions, prosecutors were still quietly building their arguments in the background. According to commentators following the case closely, investigators allegedly continued gathering testimony, digital records, travel information, phone data, and witness statements connected to the timeline prosecutors believe ties everything together. The deeper people looked into the case, the more complicated it seemed to become. At first, many casual fans thought this was simply another celebrity arrest story that would dominate headlines for a few weeks before disappearing. But months later, the case had grown into something much bigger. Now it involved questions about loyalty, influence, violence in rap culture, internet trolling, retaliation, informants, and how lyrics can affect real-life criminal investigations. And right at the center of it all stood Lil Durk, one of the biggest artists to ever come out of Chicago. What made the situation even more emotional for supporters was watching how much his image appeared to be changing during this process. Before the arrest, Durk was constantly associated with success, chart-topping music, luxury lifestyles, sold-out shows, and public confidence. But after months behind bars, fans started hearing more reflective messages allegedly connected to him. Instead of sounding focused on beef or revenge, he reportedly began talking more about growth, responsibility, and the younger generation watching everything unfold. For some fans, those messages felt genuine. People said prison may have forced him to finally slow down mentally for the first time in years. Others pointed out how much loss he already experienced throughout his life, losing friends, family, and people close to him repeatedly while trying to survive fame and pressure at the same time. Supporters argued that eventually all that trauma catches up with a person emotionally. But critics online weren't fully buying the transformation narrative. Some believe the softer image appearing now was simply part of preparing for trial and public sympathy. Shocking to many fans. Some people even started saying the fear of betrayal might emotionally affect Durk more than the actual prison conditions themselves. Meanwhile, internet personalities kept adding fuel to the fire every day. bloggers, streamers, podcasters, and commentators all started giving their own theories about the investigation. Some claimed the prosecutors were struggling badly after certain evidence issues surfaced earlier in the case. Others argued the exact opposite, saying the government intentionally moves slowly in major federal investigations because they prefer overwhelming evidence before trial begins. That difference in opinion created two completely different narratives online. One narrative painted Durk as somebody potentially being over-targeted by prosecutors using lyrics, interviews, and emotional assumptions to build a larger story. The other narrative painted prosecutors as patient investigators slowly assembling witness testimony and digital evidence piece by piece. And honestly, both sides sounded convincing depending on who was telling the story. At the same time, another major debate continued taking over the internet. Should rap lyrics ever be used in court? The argument became massive again after reports suggested prosecutors planned to reference lyrics in public statements tied emotionally to King Von's death. Supporters of Durk argued artists speak dramatically in music all the time and shouldn't have creative expression treated like literal confession. Critics responded by saying investigators only focus on lyrics when they believe there's a direct connection to alleged real-world events. That debate became emotional because many fans felt rap artists are examined differently than entertainers in other genres. They argued violent themes exist throughout movies, television, and music broadly, yet hip-hop artists often face the harshest scrutiny once criminal investigations begin. Still, prosecutors reportedly believed certain lyrics and interviews helped establish emotional context connected to the case. And once those discussions entered public conversation, old clips involving Durk and King Von started resurfacing everywhere again. For longtime fans, those clips were painful to watch. Because before all the federal allegations, before all the courtroom drama, before all the conspiracy theories, people mainly saw Durk and Von as two artists who survived difficult environments together while building success from almost impossible circumstances. Their bond became one of the most recognizable friendships in modern drill music. So seeing that friendship now discussed inside a courtroom context felt surreal to many supporters. Then another emotional moment shifted public conversation again. Durk's family continued publicly asking fans for prayers and support while expressing hope about future court rulings. Those appearances reminded people that behind all the viral headlines and internet debates, real families were emotionally living through this situation every single day. Supporters started saying it's easy for social media to treat cases like entertainment while forgetting the personal damage happening privately behind the scenes. At the same time, critics pointed out prosecutors also represent victims and serious allegations that cannot simply be ignored because somebody is famous. That's another reason the case became so divisive online. Depending on perspective, people viewed the story completely differently. And through all of it, the possibility of house arrest remained one of the biggest questions hanging over the case. Fans continued hoping the judge might eventually approve some form of release before trial, especially after reports about Durk's isolation conditions inside jail spread online. Supporters believed strict monitoring and supervision would still allow him to prepare legally while protecting his mental health outside prison walls. But others warned that federal judges usually move carefully in high-profile cases involving serious allegations. That meant no matter how confident supporters sounded online, nothing was guaranteed. Then came the realization that changed how many fans viewed the entire situation. Even if Lil Durk eventually comes home, many people believe this experience may permanently change him forever. DJ academics and several commentators openly discussed how prison, betrayal rumors, federal pressure, and isolation can completely transform somebody mentally. Fans started saying the version of Durk who entered jail may not be the same person who eventually walks back out. Some supporters actually hoped that was true. They believed surviving the situation could push him toward a different lifestyle entirely. One more focused on family, leadership, business, and protecting younger artists from repeating the same cycles. Others questioned whether someone who spent years inside the pressures of street culture and rap fame could truly escape that environment completely. Now the entire future of one of hip-hop's biggest stars hangs in uncertainty. On one side are supporters praying the evidence weakens enough for Durk to eventually beat the case and rebuild his life. On the other side are prosecutors reportedly continuing to prepare witness testimony and evidence they believe strongly supports their accusations. And somewhere behind federal courtroom walls, while millions of fans argue online every day about what's true and what isn't, Lil Durk continues waiting to learn whether the next chapter of his life ends in freedom or becomes one of the biggest downfalls modern hip-hop has ever seen. At this point, nobody truly knows how this story ends. Every courtroom update seems to raise even more questions, and with so many rumors, legal twists, and shocking allegations flying around, the truth may not fully come out until this case finally reaches its biggest moment. Some people believe Lil Durk is about to shock everybody and beat this case. Others think federal prosecutors are quietly preparing something much bigger behind the scenes that could change everything overnight. One thing is clear, though. The entire hip-hop world is watching closely, and whatever happens next could completely reshape Durk's future forever. Whether he walks away from this stronger and change for the better, or whether this becomes the biggest fall we've ever seen in modern rap, history is being written right now. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think Lil Durk's legal team is really gaining momentum? Or do you believe the feds are simply setting up an even stronger move before trial? And if Durk does come home, do you think he'll return as the same artist we all knew? Or will this experience change him forever? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Hit that like button if you're still rocking with Smurk, and subscribe so you don't miss the next major update. Because trust me, this story is far from over.